In this video, we are going to explore the dark mode screen and light mode screen on your new Pioneer DMH-WT3800NEX. All right, so if you're familiar with Pioneer NEX receivers over the past several years, from the 2020s and moving forward, this is the normal screen that you see, the home screen with this black background like this. Well, with the introduction of DMH-WT3800NEX, we have a new option for a light screen background, and I'll show you how to switch that on. Let's go into the settings here, and we'll go to the color palette, and under the color palette, let's scroll down to appearance. And while we're in here, I'm going to put that star beside appearance. That's going to make it one of our shortcuts. So we'll choose appearance here, and here you can see we have three different settings. Right now we're on the dark mode, or we can choose the light mode, which works great for daytime, or we can choose the third one over here, which is the dimmer. So we have our choice of dark mode in both daytime and nighttime, and we can choose light mode in both daytime and nighttime, or we can choose the dimmer, which means we have light mode during the day and dark mode at night when the dimmer switches on. So let's take a look at light mode to start with here, and I'm going to just hit the X. This is what light mode looks like on the normal AV screens. We'll swipe over here. You can see what light mode looks like. It's much easier to see, designed to be much easier to see during daylight and bright sunshine. Much easier than that dark mode. And this is what it looks like when you are operating Apple CarPlay, and you can see split screen over here. CarPlay is really its own background. It's changed by the brightness setting of the in-dash receiver and not by that background setting, unless we choose to operate CarPlay in split screen mode. And by the way, that's exactly the same thing that happens here for Android Auto in split screen mode. You're really seeing is the Pioneer in-dash receiver home screen show up here on a couple of different things. So this is light mode, and you can see it's showing in light mode, and I'll show you a little later in the video. When we switch to dark mode, you'll see that these switch to dark. Now let's go back to the Pioneer screen here. Now let's take a look at the dark mode. We'll just jump back in appearance back to dark mode and hit the X here. And here, this is the exact same home screen, but in dark mode. And we'll go out to Apple CarPlay. You can see this is dark mode, and this is dark mode with split screen with the Pioneer segments of the home screen showing up there in dark mode. And we'll go back out to the Pioneer screen. All right, so let's check to see what happens when we use light mode, and more importantly, light mode during the day and dark mode at night. So that would be the dimmer setting here. You're going to get light mode during the day, and then in the evening when you switch the dimmer on, or the dimmer automatically switches on, it's going to go to dark mode. So let's now go to our toolbox here and down to the dimmer settings. And I'm going to put the star beside the dimmer settings there to make it easy to get to. And while I'm in here, we're going to use the picture adjustment as well. I'm going to light that one up too. Let's get into the dimmer settings. For the dimmer settings, the dimmer trigger, you have really three different triggers. Auto means if your vehicle is wired this way, and only if your vehicle is wired this way. When you switch on the vehicle's headlights, the dimmer can automatically switch on with the headlights, and then it automatically switches off when you switch the headlights off. That's the auto setting. The manual setting is you touch a button to switch it between the two of them. And finally, the time setting means the dimmer will automatically switch on at a preset time of day and will automatically switch off at a preset time in the morning. For right now, I'm going to use the manual setting for this demonstration. It makes the most sense while we're here. So with the trigger set to manual, I have the daytime and nighttime mode. Right now we're in daytime mode, and remember we have the light color mode, the light mode selected, and then we'll automatically change to the dark mode when we switch on the dimmer. So we switch to night, and you can see that the nighttime mode comes up, or the dark mode comes up, and the dimmer is in play, actually lowering the brightness of the screen. So let's get in there and take a look at that under picture adjustment. And to dimmer down here. Dimmer, you can see, is set to 22. Now this is of a certain brightness, and this may be too bright for you or not bright enough for you in your particular vehicle at night. We can make adjustments here. make it a little darker with the dimmer switched on, or make it a little lighter with the dimmer switched on. For right now, I'm going to make this about 20. That seems like a pretty good place to start. And we'll go back and bail out of the picture adjustment. So that is, we switched from light mode during the daytime, and when the dimmer switch is on, we get dark mode, and dark mode lowers the brightness of the dark mode. So let's go back in there, and we'll go back to appearance, and this time we're going to choose light. And with light mode, I'm going to do the same thing with the dimmer, except it's not going to switch over to the dark. Let's go to the dimmer settings here, and right now we're on night. We can switch out to day. All right, so that is the light mode in daytime. You can see it's nice and bright, easy to see in the sunshine. Let's switch on the dimmer. And you can see we're still in light mode, but that brightness drops down significantly and makes it easier to use at night. So if you like light mode, you can keep it that way as often for day and night if you want to. And then let's go back into appearance, and we'll choose dark mode, and we'll bail out of there. Oops, well, I wanted to go over to the dimmer settings. Let's go to the dimmer settings, and we're going to switch back to daytime. Under daytime, you can see the brightness of the dark mode is coming up to its full brightness. And now let's switch on the dimmer for the dark mode, and you can see the brightness of that dropping away. And you have full control over the brightness of any of these segments, however you want to do it. And now that we're in dark mode, let's go back out to Apple CarPlay. I wanted to point out to you that this is dark mode with Apple CarPlay. Now, the brightness setting of the receiver affects how bright Apple CarPlay is and Android Auto are. So Android Auto also gives you an option to change into a daytime and nighttime mode. But the brightness setting of the receiver determines how bright this screen is, not the dimmer setting necessarily. The dimmer setting, if you change the brightness, can certainly change it here too. All right, so we have our Apple CarPlay in full screen mode, and we can put it back into split screen. All right, let's go back out to the next receiver.